Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow Notebooks meeting for the 5th of February 2026. We've got obviously more than just notebooks, but as a first step, we like to say if you don't know what Notebooks 2.0 is, which is the big thing we're working on at the moment, you should start here, I guess, which is the issue number 85 on the Notebooks repo, which was actually migrated from the old repo, so it's got two different numbers, I think, if you look hard enough. Which pretty much just gives you a basic FAQ, but it's a full rewrite of notebooks. It's got three components that are backend, controller, front end, and the servers as well, if you count those, Jupyter images. And if you want to help, there are kind of three major areas that you can help. If you're a Golang kube builder, Kubernetes kind of controller person, then you can help with the backend. The controller. If you've got kind of REST API and Go experience, you can help with the backend, which integrates with the Kubernetes cluster for the front end. And then if you're a front end developer, you can use React and use and Node and things like that. You can help on the front end. And we welcome all those people. If you have any questions about how you can do stuff and you've got experience as a developer, please reach out in the Kubeflow-notebooks channel on the CNCF Slack. And the way you find that is by going to the Kubeflow website, going to community at the top, scrolling down a little bit, clicking join CNCF Slack, and then we've got a bunch of different channels, but the one that we care about is notebooks in this case, and including for dashboards. So if you're contributing to dashboard for historical reasons, you should go into this channel and introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm this person. If you want, say where you work. I am a developer of this kind, and it's really helpful to help us triage you into tasks if you have time. If not, then just join the meetings. I want to highlight one more thing, which is that Notebooks v2 has a development guide. It's very easy to start to deploy all of Notebooks v2 in literally one command. So if you just create a kind, you don't even need to create the kind cluster. I think it actually does that as well. So the one thing here though is it doesn't currently deploy the auth, which it will very soon. It just doesn't currently deploy auth. So there's no authentication authorization taking place. It just assumes you're allowed to do everything. But this is a good place. What happens is if you use tilt, if you make changes in the code base in the branch, so it lives under the notebooks repo v2 branch. If you make changes in the code, it will automatically roll out the changes with tilt. Tilt's very cool. And the reason we have to use tilt is for people's technical knowledge is that Kubeflow Notebooks makes heavy use of webhooks in Kubernetes. And webhooks are very hard to develop if you don't actually have them running in the cluster. So tilt allows you to hot swap code into containers that are running already. That's why we do that. If you've got any questions, again, ask in the Notebooks channel. The tracking board and roadmap will come to that later. If anyone's new, if they want to introduce themselves, you should do so. Since we had a bit of issues technically first, let's not take too long, but I know you're not new, Commandus, but do you want to say hi?
Hey folks, yeah, I'm Kimonas. I've been coming and going, trying to have a more stable relation with the working group. I used to build a lot of the web, at least initial web apps, and work with Matthew with controllers and notebooks and everything. So yeah, it's like this feeling of guilt every time I see you having all the fun. I'm like, I need to take a look a little bit into it. So yeah, and lately I'm also pushing a little bit to wrap up our Google Summer of Code effort that we had for integrating with the Gateway API. And one of the parts is also for notebooks. So this is why I also added my topic. So,
Yeah, definitely. And for that as well, since we are integrating in the same, we should try and at least, since it is V1 versus V2, I'll come back to your topic later, but we are doing the same thing in V2, but since we haven't finalized the API, like config API for how we integrate with Gateway, you're kind of going to have to, if we merge something before doing that, then you might end up looking very different than what we do on the V2. That's just my only slight concern. But yeah. Okay, because I know you wanted to make changes to enable the Gateway API rather than virtual services, but we'll come back to that. Okay, Jenny, I know you had a check or something issue with FOSSA. This is like, we're structuring the meeting as community. I'll just give an update for that. So community and introductions, overall topics, release tasks, Kubeflow dashboard, Notebooks v1 and Notebooks v2. And then we have a bit of a stand up at the end if we get time. Maybe we should split this meeting. Anyway, okay, if you have items, maybe add them now if you have been doing tasks. But Jenny, take the floor.
Thank you. So yeah, just wanted to bring this up. We have been running into some issues with this like FOSSA CI integration on our PRs. So our question is just if maybe we can find a way to make this check optional or just run it on demand and not have it be tied to the PRs, because we found it's quite unreliable. We're seeing a lot of false positives related to like invalid license and unlicensed software, which is wrong because it's like there's often just like a license that's right at the root of the repo, but it's not identified by FOSSA. And also it's
Yeah,
like
is
like
it,
just like failures. Yeah.
so like my question for you is there like, is it something where we can just add more people as admins on FOSSA to be able to make exceptions or fix those issues? Um,
I
because like
mean,
once it's fixed, it's kind of permanently fixed for that dependency. It's more like just a sanity check because it's like if it's incorrect, that's a different story. But if it's incorrect, you can actually make an exception that just lasts for everyone in the Kubeflow org. You know what I mean? Like that's what's kind of useful about it. But how often is it happening? Or is it that it's not running? Like my question for you is, what's the actual root of the problem? Is it that it's not running, or that it's giving bad results?
it's giving bad results, and they're wrong results because there's things that exist that it says doesn't do not exist, and it's just kind of like a bit of a time sink for folks to go in and look at it and then make an override for something that's just wrong. So I think that's probably not the best idea personally to like have it be tied to the PR individually, because it's just not, it's like returning false positives regularly.
I understand, and I don't want to block anyone either. Like the only reason we did it in the first place was just because the CNCF has pretty strong rules around licensing. You know what I mean? And so like since pull requests are where the code comes in, and some licenses are almost toxic, if you know what I mean, like that's kind of they poison the whole code base to some extent. That's kind of the reason why the CNCF wants it on PR. But like, if it's a matter of like the process being bad, this is technically something the CNCF is paying for as a service. You know what I mean? So, or maybe it's free, but you know what I mean. Like, we should make it better, right? And if we have a temporary problem for trusted people, we could skip it or something, you know. But it's also pretty easy to accidentally pull code in that you don't expect. That's kind of the only part where even myself, right? But if we can we like nail it down to, is it just taking so long? Is like if it was really fast to cycle, would it be fine? You know?
It's just giving the wrong result, which is why, like, it might be like if we can take it out of the CI and just run like a weekly check, maybe that like goes in as an individual PR or just some sort of like a report, would that be possible? But just not having it tied to PRs, I think, is the best game plan here, so that we don't get blocked by incorrect
I think you
compliance.
can merge without it, to be clear. Or are you not able to?
We're not until like someone like a maintainer overrides it.
Re really? I thought, okay, maybe this is one of the, see, this has always been a mystical thing to me where sometimes GitHub marks certain CI checks as important and others as not. And I don't understand the situations under which ones are required. Um, if let me, so if you link me, can you just link me to a PR that was incorrect so that I can just see one? And then we can take a look at that in the like after meeting kind of review. But yeah, we'll make sure something happens here.
It happens
Thank you.
for the Kubeflow for the dashboard repo for the other PR I had, and I was talking with Julius. It's all over the place. And sometimes when I click even to the link, it says there are no issues. But then there's a red on the action, and I'm like, okay, what do I do?
Interesting. So I think there's two possibilities there. I think it could be that we're kind of overwhelming that system a little bit as well, I think. But if not, then let's review this afterwards. But yes, I hear your problems. We'll find a solution. But
Yeah,
in the
thank you for
short term,
corroborating.
I'll try and figure out why it's not allowing things to merge when they're not there. You know what I mean? So if an approver should be able to override anything, like, you know what I mean? Like that's like technically if someone writes approve on something, even failing checks should be allowed, right? That is kind of weird that like we do that for tests because tests might be in a state where they're impossible to work in a PR. You know what I mean? Like it sometimes can happen. Or you know that they're going to pass because you just fix a doc issue. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So yeah, if you can link that one of those in there.
It's in chat. Thank you. Yep.
Oh, sorry, yeah. You can just suggest it in the doc. Okay, so
Mm.
so I'm gonna quickly go through the release stuff because this stuff's critical. And I won't go too long on this, but we really need to focus on this. So we've got Kubeflow 2603 coming out. That's not the first RC. We got an actual date, which was, let me check the community meeting for everyone. So this one I also need to do the doc archive with. But it was release here. So this was by the release lead, which is Turek. He proposed, or actually merged. What is happening here? The date for the first RC was March 2nd. But as I was explaining to Turek in that meeting, for us especially, we need to be ready earlier than that. Like, I'm going to say like pre-RC manifests. Okay, so this one, it turned out to be, what is that? Is that a Monday? Does anyone know if March 2nd is a Monday or? It is a Monday, yep. Okay, okay, let's format it slightly differently. Okay, so, and then second RC, maybe we don't need one, but for us, so we need one for the manifest because we are literally changing a very significant portion of the manifest repo just because we're moving our source to these two repos. So what this means is that we have, since the KubeCon EU is the hard deadline, and if we, I'm just going to paste this in here actually. Let me just do that. Oh, okay. Let's link this. They're not from his fork. Releases. Okay, releases. 26. Okay, so. Okay, so what I just want to highlight this. So pretty much so what we're gonna have in these release. So the dashboard is gonna have a V2 version, which is a V2 version, not because of significant changes, other than maybe Kimonos' thing, which is manifests will break. Like you cannot just take a cluster that's running V1 and immediately translate it to V2. You need to make some deletes manually, and that's why we're calling it a V2. There will be a V3, and we're intending to do that. Julius and Red Hat and a few others are proposing some changes to the profile controller and unification between the profile controller of pipelines and other things. We don't have any finalized plans there yet. So there will be a V3 probably in 2611 probably will also have a V3. But because but we'll see. It might not. It just depends on if we can come to an agreement on that API. But what it means is that one other change as well is that I won't go through it here, but it just because it's not really important for everyone to know, but effectively this is the first release out of the new dashboard repo. So it means that we need to change the scripts and structure of the manifest repo as well. Similarly, for notebooks V1 and V2, it's the first release out of the notebooks repo. So we'll also need to refactor the manifest there, and we're going to group them a little bit more sensibly. And actually, I was chatting with Turek that we will pull, because we want to be able to release dashboard as a standalone application. We were going to pull the auth manifests into the dashboard repo, and that just means copying and pasting the auth2 proxy index folders, not Istio. Istio is just going to be a dependency like Cert Manager. Okay, so the overall thing I just want to highlight is that our intention for 2603, which again, March 2nd, we need to have everything first cut by then, or before even. 1 week before. Or well, let's just check what that is. That is 23rd. So that we only have like a couple of weeks for that. And so this one is we need to try and sync the manifest in before then, just because if something goes wrong, I don't want to be blocking everyone else from testing their RC because we're the freaking dashboard. So like, yeah, okay. Okay, so the goal is to get v1.11 notebooks in there. v1.11 notebooks has no significant changes other than updated images and refactored, no, not refactored manifest, just new repo source. And also maybe Kimonos' change. And then V2 is going to have an alpha. Alpha in this case literally just means whatever the current state of head is at the time of the RC. But I do want it to at least, the goal, again, coming back down to here, what we're going to say soon, the goal is to have it do something, because it's a demo, right? This is going to be the first time when everyone sees Notebooks v2 as an option. It's not going to be installed by default in the manifest, but people will try it. So it needs to be safe to deploy in a non-production cluster. We're going to be very clear that it's not for production, because I don't want to be held responsible if we break the controller or does something crazy. Anyway, so there was the task here about updating the tagline. I need to review that. We shall do that. Let me just pin some of these. Okay. So we need to review that. It's fine. The release on the Kubeflow, we're still debating that. We're not going to talk about that now. Okay. So for dashboard. So Kimonos, does your pull request also affect dashboard?
So there are two. One is for dashboard that changes the profile controller, but here I'm focusing mostly on the notebooks v1 that I'm affected by CVEs.
Okay, so actually I forgot to ask, has anyone got any release topics they want to talk about here? We'll talk about the specifics of each version in the next section, but if anyone, feel free to just yell out now if you have. I know that some people are away, so there are less people here than normal, but a lot of Red Hat is away because they're all, okay, but okay, cool. Dashboard. So the goal for dashboard is to get 2603. So what are the blockers? I just want to quickly nail through these. So Alok, I know that, do you want to give an update on to what you were doing here? So the first one is to migrate to the same manifest structure as V2 notebooks. So Alok, you were working on the dashboard. Sorry to just throw you under the bus right now, if you're available. I can't hear you as well, sorry. Maybe. Okay, well, I know that he DM'd me before and said he'd made his first stab at this new PR,
Hello,
which we talked about. Oh, yes. Yeah, Alok.
So I updated the manifest as per you said the last meeting what were conditions you said to check. I checked it and updated the manifest structure as per that. But there was one thing you said about authorization YAML, which I forgot something about. So I didn't updated that, but I rest other points I have updated.
Cool. So yeah,
And
pretty
in
much.
also, I have also mentioned in the Slack channel in notebooks.
Cool. Okay. So we'll definitely try and get through this testing, me and Andy today, and give you a review and make sure that it's good. If it is, then I guess we will send you a similar list of tasks, or you can. We'll probably send you a similar list of tasks for other ones if you're willing to help out with the other ones as well, because there's, in the
Yeah, of
dashboard
course.
repo.
And I asked Andy also, but he's quite busy, so
yeah, he's busy this week, unfortunately. But yes, but he will be with me in the afternoon reviewing and merging pull requests. So we'll make sure that this one gets merged. If you're okay, are you okay if I push commits to your thing just so we can merge it today? Like if you end up being away, or do you want to?
yes,
make
I'm okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as significant. It would just be like patches potentially. If it's significant, I'll let you do it. Okay. Okay. Cool. So in this way,
Well, you
so
can
the
also
blockers.
mention in the PRs whatever.
Sorry?
You can also mention in the PR what changes you want, or
yeah, of
you
course.
can also comment it.
Yeah, I'll do both. I'll explain so that when you make the next one, you can do it as well. But yeah, so effectively the blocker. So blockers for 2603, these things. So migrating to the same structure as this. So right now, this first PR from Alok, thank you, is for the dashboard, just as a reference point. Effectively, what we're talking about when we say refactoring the manifest, just so people understand, is that I'm just going to show everyone on screen a Notebooks v2 example, just because the only one that's merged is that. I won't go into detail. I just want to highlight this because this is how all of our manifests for all of our components are going to be going forward. So the controller, so we've moved away from the kubebuilder structure and now always have base, components, overlays, and samples in this case, but only in this case. So base, so a customized folder now targets one namespace always. And so base is, and if it needs to be, it can be grouped as well. And so you've got a customization like that. And then you have, let's say, the manager, which is like the controller in this case. You have a customization in here. And so what we're doing is kind of careful, where we add the component in this base one, but we have this new, we add the label for this one, the component label in this one. But for example, one of the things that we're doing differently is that rather than including all these labels everywhere in random places, we now use the customized component thing to add these customized name and part of ones. And so the only thing that end users need to think about is when they look at our manifest, there'll be 3 components in this case, but they always look under overlays. You never use one of the other ones directly. So you look, in this case, there's only one option. And so we then create all of our options, if you will, for things are either as different overlays or as commentable things in here. And so there's some technical specifics on why this works better, but it effectively means that we don't have as much duplication of manifests because the components are kind of optional blocks that can be slotted in. And so we're doing the same thing for V1, not for V1 yet, sorry, we're not doing it for V1. We're doing it for dashboard and V2. Because V1, we're not planning to support beyond the end of the year, so there's not much point to do that. Let's keep going. Okay, so other blockers are, as I was saying before, we're going to migrate these 2 folders out of manifest. Kimonos, do you have time to do anything like this or not? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's pretty easy. I made most of this code in the manifest repo anyway, so it's like the only thing that's really breaking change for the manifest repo is just they need to point to the new application folder. So this is blocked by this though, because I want to refactor the manifests so that when they sync there'll be a new folder in manifest called dashboard, which contains these 4 components. Not this one, because that's not ready. These 3 and this one. And also we'll include the DEX and OAuth2 proxy. So we'll merge those in and then we'll delete them from the manifest repo and then sync them back in using that. So this first step is a blocker to that. And then the next one is also making sure that network policies are there. We will need to write an upgrade guide. I know there was some discussion, Kimonos, about you doing this. I think it's better to write it as a guide rather than as a script, just for security and safety reasons. It's just not dangerous to give people delete scripts. And then the last part is we need to cut a tag. We did test the release process previously, so all the release GitHub actions should work. But like there is published ones in here, you know. But obviously something could break, but that'll be my job to fix if that happens. And then we obviously need to update the sync scripts. Actually, this needs to be done probably. Oh, actually, we do need to cut a tag before we do that. Sorry, you're right. Actually, okay, yes, I forgot about that. So this is actually the final step. So I want to be doing this step before Monday 23rd. So yep. Anyone else got anything they want to add here? Post-release plan we can talk about later. Don't need it today. Anyone got anything about dashboard? Cool. Raise it in the chat. If not, notebooks v1. So I haven't had time to restructure these notes yet, but effectively, I'll just highlight the 2 releases. So we're going to be thinking about things in terms of Alpha 0 and the Alpha line. For Alpha 0 initially, which is for the 2603. And as we will cut a new version of it whenever, if there becomes an Alpha 260301, we will just bring whatever is changing into that one. Yes? Question?
Is this about notebooks v1?
Yes.
But so I think you lost me somewhere there regarding
sorry,
the
you're
2
right.
points.
Sorry, you're right. I think I was copying this into the wrong section. You're right. Yep. I think I must have glitched this out. Let me just do that. You're right. Thank you for calling me. I was very confusing myself. Okay. Let me just fix this. Okay, so the answer here is actually not alpha. Sorry. It is 1.11.0. And then this one doesn't have one of these. So, and so I'm going to format these under here so we can do that. But what is everyone... so these 2 topics up here, Christian... Do you have a question here? Sorry.
Yeah, so the question essentially is, we discussed, I think, the support of notebooks V1 now quite a bit. Like I wondered until when it's still worth to develop fixes for it that like are touching actual code and not just like some CVE fix or something, because I think that was the goal, to have them CVE fixes only after the release.
Yes, I mean, in some sense, you could probably sneak something in before 1.11, but if you've got time to do that, I'd prefer people spend time on notebooks v2. But if you've got a feature that you really need, you're probably going to need to maintain a fork in V1 long term if you're going to do that. But our goal is to make it so that V2 is fully better in every single way than V1. So like, so if you have a specific problem, is it something like urgent? Like, what is this?
No, nothing too urgent, but it's something that has come up quite a bit, and I think it will take quite a bit of time until we actually adopt the notebooks V2 version. So the general thing is that the calling metrics and like it's not a blocker issue in the sense that it has a lot of impact, but it's something that I would like to see solved sometime, and I could spend some time on that.
Well, if this is just a Prometheus collector change, it's not, unless it just depends on how much code's going to change, right? Like it's more about like, I don't want to put burden on the maintainers in the short. So let's come back to this. So like the goal is that, oh, actually we didn't write it here, but V1 will be EOL in the next release of Kubeflow, not in this one. But like, so it's going to be enabled by default. So we'll do security patches after the next one as well. So there's still a year and a bit of security patches that we can do. But what I mean by this is 2611, V1 will be disabled by default. So like it'll be flipped. Where right in 2603, V2 is disabled by default and V1 is in default. In 2611, it'll be the reverse. And then in the next one, it will be actually in 2703, you actually should not use V1 anymore. We do not make any guarantees about it. You're on your own, right? So if you have a very basic feature, I think there's a chance we would release a 1.12, you know, but I think if it's just something simple, yeah, I'm okay with it. But I would prefer that people spend their engineering effort. So if you want to raise a pull request for this, just like keep us in the loop about if you're going to make a big change. You know what I mean? Like if it's, you know, because in the same way that Kimonos is adding a feature, which is pretty important. So I think we make an exception for that one, which is the Gateway API as, you know, pretty important. But the, yeah, okay. So my answer is, it depends. I know, unfortunately, but in this particular case, it doesn't seem that big. Sure. Kimonos.
Yeah, mostly my question is because I don't wanna like get in the mess around with the folks that do already the changes with the Go module files. I have some conflict, so I want to make sure I wait a little bit before once we do the Go mods to do a final rebase. So I wanted to ask, like, doesn't someone know? Is there some pending PRs yet, or can I just go and rebase my PR yet?
So someone DM'd me earlier that I think there is going to be, I don't think there's that many left. I mean, who's been working on this one again? Is it Polo or is it someone? No, it's not Polo. It's Guilherme, but I think Guilherme is not here right now. Is that right? Maybe I'm confused. But
Okay.
yeah. So to be clear, I don't. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal. The only the thing that we would just need to, the main thing we should do a quick review on yours either way, not now, but is just making sure that we're agreeing on the API of it. I think, you know, like it's kind of like, you know, the names of your, for example, have you made these changes in any other components?
Only those three controllers, and it's 3 environment variables: use gateway API, Kubernetes gateway name, and Kubernetes gateway namespace.
Oh no, I mean like in other parts of Kubeflow.
And there's then the PR for the profile controller to dynamically, like, because it creates an authorization policy, whether to attach it on a waypoint or not, but it shouldn't affect this one.
Yeah, because my question about because that was my question, right? How does this relate to the dashboard? Because like there isn't a gateway API equivalent of an authorization policy yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
but this but they're slightly orthogonal because here we care about the HTTP routes to make sure that
Yeah,
we
no, I
compile.
understand. Yeah, I understand. And so that's also why we split dashboard up in this way as well, because we view the dashboard as an optional component that distributions can replace. And presumably that's what Canonical is doing. So, and Red Hat does as well. So makes sense. Auth is separate is what we're trying to say. Like, so this is just about notebooks routing correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you still would need to implement your own auth. Okay. So let's just make sure that is this ready for review then? Should I add this to the review of, because we could get this merged today almost if it turns out to be happy.
It is.
And so what kind of testing have you done? Because I know this is quite a big change.
So we've tested with all of the controllers. We have our own like version of Istio that can have also the gateway. So I've tested in all of those three that we can deploy, and the ingress, the paths go as we expect them.
Interesting. And so where are you currently based? Are you currently on head or?
Main, yes. Notebooks V1, sorry.
Yeah, which is head, right? That's what I used to do at head. Okay. So yeah, okay, because I think I don't want to spend any time on this, so I won't now, but I think there might be some pull requests we might want to merge first, but we can just rebase it very quickly otherwise. If not, anyone here who's working on the CVs for V1? Anyone here? I think they're away right now. Okay. So I know that we're making good progress there. They're very basic changes right now. We're not going through we're mainly just going through the automated CVE backlog, right? Which is like, bump Go version, bump OAuth2 proxy, whatever, these kind of things. So yeah, it shouldn't be too bad, I don't think, but we do need to get a review in here. So if you're saying this is ready for review, I'll make sure it gets reviewed in the next week. When do you need this? I mean, it doesn't matter. We need to just get it in before the date we were saying above here, right? Which is, it has to be before that one. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Matthew.
I want it in there as well. Yeah. I mean, but we need to. The only part that I'm a little bit worried about is, I think me and Andy had one discussion point that we can have it on the call here. Actually, it's an open discussion. Is whether we should. It's a bit excessive maybe because of how simple it is, but whether we should have this say experimental _ use gateway API. Just so that it's very clear that it's not really that tested, because we're not going to have any tests upstream for this. You know what I mean? Like this is and it's like, because it's experimental in V1 because V1's never going to be finalized with it, to some extent. Like V2, yes, we're going to have tests for it and everything, but like that's my only worry, is that maybe we should prefix all of these with experimental, just because like normal kind of config indication of maturity. It's like, this is just a debate that we were having. Maybe I don't know what your thoughts are there.
I think that maybe for notebooks V1, I would not add it just to not get people's hopes up that, hey, we're going to be starting adding experimental and stable features on V1. For V2, for sure, I think it's a really, really nice change. But for V1, I would also be okay to not do it, but I don't also have a super strong preference.
Oh, no, so for V2, it's going to be a feature on day 0, you know what I mean? Like, well, not day 0, like before the GA release. Like where it's not experimental in that, it's like an intended feature.
But for other kind of experimental features, I mean.
Sure, yeah. It's more like, in this case, I wanted to highlight that the question is, what level of support? Okay, this comes back to actually to you almost. What level of support are we going to provide to this? Like, when, like a fix, like what's a fix? What sort of fix would we be willing to do here? I don't know, right?
What do you mean?
Like, so it's not, I don't foresee it breaking that much, honestly, but like it's pretty simple. But like, are you going to be able to help PR stuff in? Probably, maybe.
Both me and with someone from Canonical, I'm talking so that if something on this specific one breaks, we can have someone that will try to help.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's the difference between it being experimental and not, then, because like otherwise we just don't have anyone who's going to support it. Like it's kind of.
And they're going to be super invested on the admin, so if something is broken, they will want to fix it. So.
Okay, cool. Let's keep going then. That's fine. I'll make sure that gets at least a look in, just to make sure that we're happy with it. Okay. let's central dashboard. Sorry, what's this? Block, what are you saying? Okay, anyway, so the V2.
Actually,
So,
that is the new PR I have made.
okay, I mean, that's one we saw. Yeah. I'll put that up here.
Actually, in the docs, the previous PR was there. That's why I said.
This one. Yep. Okay. Let's do the next one. Okay, so we don't even have 10 minutes of the main meeting left. So anything else people really need for V1? I think the security people who are doing this aren't here right now, so we can't really talk about that. I will refactor these notes under here like the other ones. This one. Okay, so what I was trying to say for V1 was actually for V2, sorry. So the alpha 0, the current yes, so let me just put this under other tasks. Yeah, I would say other tasks. So we do need to make public statements about this. Okay, is this dependabot thing, Jenny, you're wanting to do this, or should I move this to, I'm gonna move these to the top part so we can track them next time, but.
Yeah, sure. That was just, I think, copied and pasted from last time. I think we've already had that discussion, at least for Dependabot.
So have we taken any action on it?
We have a PR that's currently in a draft right now. I think there's some other internal tasks that we're focusing on at the moment. But yeah, there's been some progress there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it here so we remember to do it. But yeah, I agree that's an important one. Okay, so for V2, here we go. Okay, so there is a bunch of tasks that we're gonna, like, a lot of stuff is in flight for V2. So the blockers are important to go through. We don't have a lot of time, but so the alpha release, technically nothing is a blocker in a sense, as long as it is possible to deploy in some form, and it is mostly possible right now. My definition of a blocker, though, is that like, I think about it from the perspective of, this is the first time public people are going to be seeing this product. They'll be talking about it at KubeCon, potentially, and I want them to at least be able to do something useful in a non-production cluster. So starting a notebook, connecting to it, using it to do a trainer model or something very basic. So most of that stuff is post-notebook spawning, and that's all kind of already there. But the flow to create and start a notebook mounting PVCs, so some of the stuff that we've just finalized now are like the volumes API and things like that. It's okay if some of it's like not fully there, like stubbed and stuff, but I think, for example, the one that we hadn't, like for example, the secrets one, I don't think is a critical path, but because not everyone needs to mount secrets on the alpha 0, but I do want to make it so that users create a workspace kind, then create a workspace using that workspace kind of Jupyter type, and to do that, that means they need to go through that create flow. So, Paulo, I think, do you want to give an update on like what? And so this was really effectively the stuff under priority 2, right? So what is left here in terms of stuff that prevents workspaces being spawned and then connectable? If you're still around. I know vaguely what the answer is, but so I think this one's pretty much been done. The reason it wasn't actually done, so I take that back. So the backend PR was actually changed. This PR was kind of a bit crazy, and so we instead moved some of this to the controller. I won't go into the details here. It's just it's interesting that it's not relevant to everyone. So that's just making sure that the icons and logos exist and are visible in the UI. The create volume, this one's critical. The stub has been designed. Okay, So let's just go down to what people are working on who are here. So yeah, okay, cool. So okay. Oh yeah, so the pre-GA thing was merged. I saw that. That's good. What did it end up being in terms of a link? Is it? Fine. It's effectively this is just adding a banner, because I don't want everyone thinking V2 is not is that it's ready. So when you're using the UI, every single page should have a warning on it. Okay. Sample workspace kinds. I can do that one. Okay. I'll go through these and finalize the blockers there. But I think, what is anyone got anything that they're currently working on? What are people currently working on who are in the call? There's only a couple people, right? So, I think people might be. Oh, Hashad, are you there? Actually,
For me, sorry, I was on PTO for last week, so I couldn't really do much. I just came back, so I'm going to start with the culling stuff, which we discussed previous week, and start there. That would be something where I will like start my week next week, starting with that.
that's definitely. I would put that under the. That would definitely be under the next one. That's fine. The like culling work, the culling controller work. Okay, Hashad is looking at that. So that's fine. This one, I wonder if there's anything in the next week or two that we might be higher priority for you to work on that would be related to the main path or not. We might need to look at that. Okay, is anything you're blocked by there? So like, I think we designed the API and we agreed on the, have we shared that design publicly in the meetings?
It was only on the Git gist. I think I wanted some help from Andy to port it on the issue itself. Yeah, we haven't gotten the time to sync yet. So I'll sync with him and then push it there.
Not this one.
Yeah, it's in the epic, right? There's an epic. There was epic on the previous page.
Okay,
Yeah, and then mine, he moved it inside the. He created one for design discussion, and then he moved everything there. I can try to find it and
I think it's not
put
under
that.
here. Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
we created those tasks based on the discussion, and now we'll start that.
Okay, cool. Anyway, that's good. And then the SSH stuff is next, I guess. There.
Yeah.
Okay. And then longer term. This MPI run MPI cluster integration. Okay, so let's keep going. So there's only 2 minutes left of the main meeting. Let's just see, is there anything that we can do to help people right now? So it's a bit weird because a lot of the critical parts are me and Andy and Hashad and a few others. We are mostly working on it. The part that we're trying to get in as soon as possible is the volumes one, so because there's quite significant changes to the front end that are needed for that to work properly. The API is quite, I don't know, did we share that API? I think we did. That one actually was, right?
It's the same, like Andy created another issue in there, which is called the same thing. It should have been
API.
there.
Yeah, let's just find it. It's weird that this is not, oh, this is probably under here.
Yeah.
Hopefully this one was, I didn't really link properly. Anyway, so this one, I think the front end people will be, have people explain it to them already. But why is that not? I don't know if this is the latest version of it either.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can check with him.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. I'll catch up with them on that one. So this is the only part that so yeah, going through the front. Okay, what we probably need to do for next week on V2 is, or maybe the week after, because it gives us 1 week to do stuff. But I really want to be looking at the flow. So actually, that's what we should be doing here. Is let's start by at the beginning of every meeting, like let's look at what the current state of this is, from a UI perspective. So like every meeting until 2.0 alpha. So this is what we should plan to do, which is effectively I want to just like someone screen shares a locally running notebooks v2 2.0 dev environment does the pretends to be a user so that we can see if there's problems as we're all on the call. Pretends to be a user, creates a workspace kind for Jupyter Lab, creates a workspace using the create UI flow, connects to workspace, runs code, updates, mounts a PVC, updates workspace workspace, changes pod config, changes image config, question mark, changes volume mount, and then connects to new workspace, stops workspace, deletes workspace. Okay, we need to, like, every meeting we should go through these so that these are the, like, this is the minimum things that we secret. So definitely we'll make sure that we're planning, we've got someone ready to do this next week. But this will highlight, I think, anywhere where we're not hitting the mark for stuff, since we're now able to use the dev environment pretty easily. Does anyone have any other things they want to add to this that we want to be able to do? And like, what other things would we absolutely need in the demo?
Hi, Matthew. Do you think the redirect would have to be there for Alpha Zero?
It's kind of already there if we implement it in the front end, right? It's an interesting question, right? Because that's a really good demo, right? That's an interesting. It's a little bit less critical, right? I think at minimum, we should show in the overview. So when we forgot one thing, we should add one, which is creates a workspace, sees list of workspaces, columns should like be somewhat correct, possibly showing like pending update redirects, even after a workspace kind update, even if we don't support applying those redirects yet in the UI. So that's an option. I agree. Yeah. Anything else?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay, cool. Because this is effectively a demo, right? And so I wanted to capture enough interest that people come and contribute to make stuff happen. So like, what makes Notebooks 2 V2 worth having is the thing we should focus on, right? And so this update stuff, like while it's really trivial to us because we're working on it and we understand that that's the API. For most people, this will be their first time seeing it. Right? That now you don't have to deal with pod specs. Your admin can do these cool things. There's some, we could hint at new features as well, like the fact that pausing. Oh, actually, Christian, I will come back to that later. But like, were you the one who was exploring that pausing functionality?
Yes, but I didn't get to it yet.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Yeah, it's complicated. for what we're talking about there is that we hope to be able to capture the state of the notebook and actually pause it without losing it when you restart a notebook. Like if you've apt installed something, for example. Okay. Which would allow so many admins to do things like do maintenance on nodes and whatever else. Okay, so I don't think SSH is going to be in there. So things that we could hint at. I'm going to put question marks under here, which is things we could hint at being in future releases through UI elements with like grayed out, like grayed out or similar. Okay, what do people want to add in here? Like things that are trying to entice attention for contributions and stuff. So like SSH into Node, obviously. I want to highlight, because it would go into support that MV2, so that's fine. So we can think about how we hint at that. How best to hint. Okay. Sorry for everyone, we've gone over by 5 minutes. I think we'll stop in like 1 minute or 2 minutes. Anything else people really want to hint at? Anyone? Okay. I think we'll stop the recording here, but let's prepare a demo next week. We're going to do this every single week. So I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks for coming, everyone. See you.